Okay, everybody, here we go. Are you ready? Are you ready, my beautiful friends? And I don't care what you may think about yourself. Not only are you all beautiful, but you're surrounded with those little puffs of loveliness that follow us all around every day. And remember, with these little things, you can reach out and try to grab one, but don't hold on to it. Let it go and set it free so it can spread love around the world. I'm not normal, but that's besides the point. All right, look, people, let's talk. Let's try to put this together. All kinds of economic news here. How the market is setting up, especially after yesterday's announcement by the Fed, by the supreme it out there, Jay Powell, that come December, the Federal Reserve was going to start easing back on its aggressive stance on rate hikes. The market took off. We watched some interesting action with regard to the 10-year yield, the U.S. dollar, the MMRI, which got even greater today. We'll talk about that in a moment. But let's for a moment focus on some economic news. So this morning, right out of the gate, inflation continues to rise. Duh. However, this is how the mainstream is spinning it. Well, the pace of how fast inflation is rising, well, it missed the mark. And this is what they're going to be selling you from now until as far as the eye can see. Oh, inflation is still rising, but the pace is slower. Oh, yes, fantastic. So that's probably a good thing. How about no? In no way, shape, or form is inflation rising going to help anybody here. It's a mechanism to, keep everyone strangled to death and struggling in this environment. So that's the first piece of economic news. Inflation continues to rise. Consumer spending is higher, okay, but that's offset with consumer debt hitting record high after record high. There's something going on here that you and I knew would happen from many, many months ago. What did we outline here? People are going to borrow beyond their eyeballs and then some from their credit cards to just make ends meet. So consumer spending is higher because, number one, people have to spend more because inflation is higher. Duh! They won't tell you that. So people have no choice but to spend more. So when you hear the mainstream propaganda ministry telling you that consumer spending is higher, well, what would you expect in an environment where inflation continues to rise? It's a no-brainer. But the way they twist this whole thing makes you think it's some kind of a good thing. It is not a good thing. Yes, consumers are spending more because they have no choice because inflation continues to rise. Can I please get a duh? Lovely. Okay, so they're also saying that personal income is higher. I think this is a complete falsehood. I don't think anybody is earning any more money this week versus last. Okay, but that's what they're going to try to tell you now. So this jobless claims number came in apparently better than expected. However, let's look just at the previous week. It came in worse. I don't believe any of these numbers. I don't think you do either here. But that's just the way it goes in this environment. Look, they control the narrative. Unfortunately, channels like mine, look, it's big, but it ain't big enough. We, unfortunately, are not reaching a big enough audience to allow them to understand what's really going on. Moreover, there is a natural selection process going on, people, and I've been telling you this for the longest time. A lot of people hate when I say that, and I don't know why. But I believe, look, there are people like you, and I would like to believe myself is included in this bunch here, that are able to process the information maybe a little better than most people. We can see a little further down the road just by not allowing ourselves to be propagandized. Most of you probably don't even pay attention to the mainstream propaganda, and I don't blame you. I only watch it because I want to see and hear what's coming out of their mouths, so I could kind of cut through the dog shit, cat shit, reptile shit, chicken shit, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Just try to cut through it all. Anyway, so on the back of all this economic news today, a couple of phenomenons are occurring. The MMRI is cratering right now. It's at 233. All right, still in a high range, but it came down substantially. Again, the MMRI, Mannarino Market Risk Indicator, the higher this number goes, probably the less you should be exposed to the long end of this market here. But after what we found out yesterday, and yesterday the MMRI dropped. It dropped further this morning. I mean, risk in this market is lessening. The Fed's going to backstop it all. They're going to pump the markets. Period. The end. They're buying it all. You all know that. Now, the 10-year yield this morning literally fell off of a cliff. Who's buying all the debt? Oh, it's not me. I don't think it's you. So let's just maybe speculate for a moment, as to who's buying all the debt. And the U.S. dollar relative strength also falling off of a cliff here this morning. Crude oil getting bid higher. Stock futures are higher this morning, but nothing dramatic here. On the back of the relative strength of the dollar falling, you got gold and silver catching very nice bids this morning, getting big higher nicely. You got Bitcoin over 17,000, crypto's doing pretty well. That is the setup here for the market. In my opinion, what happened yesterday, and if you were watching, the overseas markets did pretty well on the back of what came out of its mouth yesterday. It, meaning Powell. Look, you know how this works. It's the corporate agenda. This is not the United States of America. This is the United States of corporate America. The world right now is unfortunately following a pathway that is allowing the corporations here to run your life. You understand? And this is central banks, the military-industrial complex, puppet governments, puppet leaders, all playing in concert here to continue to allow central banks to inflate. For example, just as an example yet again, and I'm taking a lot of heat for this whole thing with indigenous people here, with President Biden billions of dollars, tens of billions to revitalize native languages, to apparently buy indigenous products which are made in Japan and China. Look, I have nothing against indigenous people, but you people, some of you, I think, are a little off your rockers here, and you don't get what's going on. You think this country seriously cares about indigenous people, really? You think President Biden really wants to help indigenous people? No. It's all about inflating the debt and bringing the world, and the United States, of course, to its knees to submit to debt slavery on an unprecedented scale. Nation slaves, individual slaves, like I said, consumer debt, record high, record high, record high, and they try to sell you, things like, oh, consumers are spending more, so this means they're doing really good. No, because they have no choice in this environment of surging inflation. And the way they twist this, oh, inflation is slowing, it's continuing to rise, but the pace is slowing. Nonsense. And we haven't seen anything yet. The environment today in this market, in case you're wondering where we're going, I wrote a whole paper recently, and it's available to all of you right now who subscribe to my free newsletter. I explained to you how there are two types of market environments. There is risk on and there is risk off. Clearly, the Federal Reserve wants to maintain a risk on environment. We're going to get a Santa Claus rally. I believe we are going to get it unless something acts against this. You're going to see stocks go much, much higher towards the end of the year. That's going to help fulfill the corporate agenda, which is what? Raise the share price of stocks so the big wig CEOs and the big wigs at these corporations can get their big, fat, lovely, beautiful, multi-million-dollar year-end bonuses. That's what bonuses are based on. Share price at the end of the year. So you see how it plays together. If you think for a nanosecond that any of this isn't scripted, scheduled, do you believe it's any coincidence that just yesterday, today happens to be December 1st, right when you would expect the Santa Claus rally maybe to start taking off, you got Fed Chair Powell coming out explaining that come December, you can expect a less aggressive Federal Reserve. The ECB is going to follow suit too, and stocks are going to take off, and these CEOs are going to get big, fat, multi-million-dollar bonuses. Do you really think this wasn't set up that way? Of course it was. Okay? Nothing, people, is what it seems to be. And when you see some freak like the Fed chair get floated out on CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business, all these major propaganda ministries all covering it, and the market takes off like that, and you see the 10-year yield crater, the US dollar crater, the MMRI fall off a cliff. Just at this moment in time, that should set the wheels in motion in your brain and say nothing here is by accident. How many times have you heard me explain that to you, that nothing here is by accident, people? We got to look out for each other. You all know that. Speaking of that, today is the first of the month. People, on the first of every month, I ask for your support. I don't think there's a damn thing wrong with that. I'm out here breaking my rear end twice a day during the week, once on the weekend, trying to make a difference in people's lives in the world. And I just ask for your support. Support this blog. Support my free newsletter. Everything on my website is free for you. And I ask for your support. $5 a month. That's all I ask for. Okay, and this is completely voluntary, but again, I would appreciate your support. You can do this two ways. In the description of this video is a link. You can use that to support my work. That's via PayPal. I know a lot of you don't like PayPal. If you don't like PayPal, look right down here. There's a little heart. Click on that little heart and support my work. I really would appreciate your support. Like I said, we're a team. We got to support each other, and I need all of you, and I would hope you need me too. I hope I'm providing a valuable service to you by doing these videos twice a day. All right, so please support my work. You have two ways to do it. Like I said, I would greatly appreciate that. People, ponder the things I spoke about in this video. Comment on what I have said here. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see all of you at the end of the day. It's going to be lovely.